So welcome to this video, to the first video on functions, and these are very important in your way of becoming a programmer, that you start using functions to encapsulate parts of your code. So let's have a look on what functions are. So functions can be seen as a container. So this is a container that contains code, and you are pushing some numbers or some other values, can also push strings, floats, integers, whatsoever to a function. And then there is code doing something with your arguments, these so-called arguments that you put into the container, and they are calculating something, processing your information, and what goes out in this case is the so-called returned value. In this case it's a 6. So we also have a function name, in this case multiply two variables, and there are two arguments, foo and bar, like 2 and 3. They are going to be multiplied. 2 times 3 is 6. So I guess the concept is clear, and it's very important that these number of arguments, they are variable. They can be non-variables, non-variables put to the function 1, 2, 3, no matter what. And there's also a return value here that is not the necessity to have a return value. It can also be like 3 return variables. All of this is possible. So let's have a look on this example. We all know that we can have like 2 variables, 2 and 3, and then we are multiplying these variables, writing this in the result. And this can be made reusable, like the multiplication operation. This is something that is so short you don't need a function for it, but for didactical reason we are writing a very short function that is doing this. So this is the syntax of a function. We are writing here def, then the function names, the variables, the so-called arguments, then the function body, it's again indented, and then the next line that is not indented is not part of it. So let's have a very close look on the syntax here. So again, we are starting with the keyword def. Then there is the function name. It's more or less arbitrary with some few exceptions. For example, you can't start with a number here. So the function reads 2 values in this case. These are called arguments. There will be another video on functions where we talk a little bit in more detail about these arguments. And in this case, we are calling them foo and bar. Yeah, these variable names, they are new to the value you are passing to the function. So if you are passing a variable name ABC to the function, and then it's renamed to foo, the value. These variables, they only exist in the function. So there is a colon, yeah, and after the colon there's an indented body, like we have seen it in for loops, while loops, if conditions. So this is always an indentation followed by a colon. The only exception I can think of is a dictionary. There's also a colon, but not an indented body afterwards. But anyway, here we have the indented body, 4 spaces to move the body to the right for better readability. And then we have a next line here, a 1 plus 1 that is not indented. It's also not part of the function. The keyword return is very important. It returns and exits the function. It returns a value. In this case, it returns the multiplication of 2 variables. So let's have a look in our Jupyter notebook on functions. So let's write the easiest function we can think of. This is a function that is actually just returning 1. We don't have any input arguments like function arguments. We have a return value. So let's do this. We execute the cell and nothing happens. But if we are going to call the function, we just define the function, like def for define. And now we are executing the function, and what we are getting is just the 1. So let's make it a little bit different. We are going to actually do something in our function. We still don't have any arguments, and I'm returning this. And what happens now is nothing is returned. Actually, there is something returned. This is the so-called non-object, so we can make it visible by printing it, what is actually being returned here. But this is just a background information. I just want to show you that we don't need to return anything. So, but let's have a list that we are providing here, and in the for loop we have here a variable for that list. my list. And then we can have, like, for example, a for loop, for I in my list, print I, and then we are going to print all the elements of that function. And we still don't have anything that we are returning. So we can also say if I is equal to 1, we are going to return I. So what happens now is we are exiting the function in the first element of the my list, because return is exiting the function and then returning the variable. So this is it regarding functions, at least the first video. In the next video we are going to have a closer look on these arguments, because there are some variations, so stay tuned.